no pathway to legal citizenship. So I think that we have to have the courage to work on those issues, and I do.
Are there other issues that you would like to be sure that we talk about in this conversation, other issues that have really been driving your campaign?
Something that I'm concerned about is the direction that we're heading on our public lands. So Utah is, as you mentioned, one of the absolutely most beautiful. I like to joke that I would fight any other district because I think mine's the prettiest. But I'm absolutely lucky to have Bryce Canyon National Park. I've got Zion National Park, a chunk of Canyonlands. I have Capitol Reef, all in this district. So some of our most well-visited and truly most spectacular national parks are right here in this district. District 2 is also home to Grand Staircase National Monument. And monuments are different than our national parks. And, you know, people have been paying attention. You know that both Grand Staircase and Bears Ears National Monuments were targeted as sites to roll back the boundaries of those lands. I struggle with this a lot. I don't think it's the right decision for Utah. And more than that, I don't think it's the right decision for this country. Our public lands are our shared heritage. And what we do to protect those places for generations says a lot about who we are. The other side of it is there's a strong economic argument to be made for protecting our public lands. My district alone saw $1.9 billion in outdoor industry dollars coming into this area. That is a huge economic driver in a huge part of our economy, our lands and outdoor recreation. And so we need to be making sure that is a priority that we're protecting. It's economically the right decision to make. It's the right decision for our families, and it's the right decision for our future.
All right, and I have to ask you about Bart the Bear. So you have a video. You have actually a number of great videos on your website and on your YouTube, but you have a video that's right out front on your website where you're standing next to a bear. So can you tell me a little bit about that? Were you really that close to the bear as it looks like you were? And why did you want to be in a video with Bart the Bear?
So I was really that close to a grizzly bear. He is an actor. Bart has appeared. This is actually Bart 2. So Bart and Bart 2 have appeared in a number of films. Bart was in Evan Almighty, and he was recently in Game of Thrones. So he is an orphaned grizzly and has worked with a trainer for many years. And the family that trains and works with Bart are huge defenders and advocates for our public lands and creating preserves, making sure that grizzlies and other animals have wild spaces where they're able to thrive. And through friends, we got connected. And it just was such an incredible opportunity to do something different, to do something memorable, but then also to really connect the idea of protecting wild spaces and wild things. It was really stressful to get close to it, but I always felt safe, and it was a truly remarkable experience and really furthered my passion for making sure that we're protecting wild spaces where these incredible animals will be for generations, making sure that we continue to protect those. I will tell you this, there are some really funny things about being around a grizzly bear. The trainer said, don't worry about it. It's just like being next to he's like a dog. You know, you just want positive reinforcement is great. And I was like, oh, okay, no problem. I've got a dog, right? I can handle this. After it was over, I was like, it's not like being around a dog. It's very different. Yeah, but it was a wonderful experience to be up close to something so wild.
And you have these beautiful T-shirts on your website that have a bear on them as well. Can you talk a little bit about the T-shirt?
Yeah, so I don't know if it's like a mama bear or sort of grizzly bear kind of thing, but what we connected to was really the idea of protecting our public lands and protecting things that are wild. And the bear on our T-shirt has bear's ears in the body of the bear as well. So it's got a real tie-in to those majestic landscapes and things that are so important that we need to protect.
All right. Excellent. Well, is there anything else that you would like to make sure that our listeners know about you?
I'm really proud of the fact that we are running an absolute grassroots campaign. So I'm not taking a single corporate dollar in this race. We are absolutely people-powered, and that means that individuals are coming to the table with their time and with their donations. And I couldn't be more grateful that we have so many individuals supporting this campaign. But if we're really going to change the way politics works, we have to address the role of money in politics. So I'm very proud of the fact that we are running a people-powered campaign.
All right, excellent. And we will put links to your website and your social media up on our website so people can help power that people-powered campaign. And I'm going to go buy one of those beautiful T-shirts to add to my rapidly growing campaign T-shirt collection.
That is awesome. I am a concert T-shirt connoisseur. I love going to live music and have my concert T-shirts, but changing over to political T-shirts is a great idea.
I'm not sure that my wallet and my dresser agree, but boo. All right. Well, thank you so much. And I love your theatricality. I think you're a really fun person to follow on Twitter and Facebook. So I hope people will check you out. And I'm really excited about your campaign.
Oh, thank you so much. We had this joke during Pride that my platform was healthcare, clean air, and more share. And now that we've moved into July, it's healthcare, clean air, American flair.
Well, I love it. And everybody should go check out the pictures of you from the recent parades.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
Hey, listeners. Thanks for tuning in today. I just wanted to do a quick plug for a little something I've been working on. So my name is Tao, and I own a small crafting-related business called Nerd Bird Bakery. I'm doing a reprint of my feminist knit club tees. Are you a craftivist, or do you know of a craftivist? I'd love for you to check it out. So 100% of the profit on the sale of this tea will be donated to progressive candidates running in the midterm election, especially those running, tough races in red state. And the best part, I've teamed up with your lovely podcaster, Kelly, to make the decision on what campaign the funding will go to. So if you're interested, if you're a knitter or a crafter, or if you know someone that is, please take a gander over at my website, nerdbirdmakery.com. to buy a feminist knit club tee, and let's get this blue wave rolling. Thanks, y'all.
I am talking to James Courage Singer, who is the Democratic nominee for Congress in the Utah 3rd District. Hi, James.
Hi, how you doing?
Great, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Excellent. So let's start with our usual first question, which is, tell me a little bit about your background and why you're running for Congress.
So for me, one of the most pivotal moments as an Indigenous person, I'm Navajo, was watching in 2016 the protests up at Standing Rock. This was a moment for us that was like a very real, in a real sense, could be, the demise of who we are as a people. And so I was helping to organize a lot of the rallies with some other folks here in Salt Lake City. Some protests against the Dakota Access Pipeline and holding protests and rallies and things. And at that moment, I was talking to a group of folks at one of these protest rallies. And I was like, we need someone who can go from the other side, not the activist side, not the social policy or advocacy side. We need someone in politics themselves who will make sure that something like this doesn't ever happen again. And it kind of dawned on me at that moment that I was like, oh, I might have to be that person. And so, that was kind of a first moment that pushed me towards moving out of the kind of the activist and public policy realm into more the politics. And then when Bears Ears National Monument, that was something we were all very excited because it was something that tribes had worked on for many, many years, several tribes in the area to bring to pass. And then when President Trump came into office and rescinded that whole thing, I was like, whoa, hold on. This is the district that I need to be in. It has the Navajo Nation, it has the Ute Mountain Ute Nation, and these peoples are constantly being forgotten and oppressed in many different ways. There's been a history of gerrymandering. And as like a 30th generation Utahn, I guess you could say, I thought, what, this is the race that I need to jump into. This is the one where I feel like my skill set is the most appropriate for. And so with some great support from the state party, a couple people kind of reached out to me, some politicians said, you need to think about this. This should be the one for you. And it just kind of congealed all together at that time. And this was in about March where I finally made the decision to run for office.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about the Utah 3rd District. So Utah has 4 congressional districts. Right now, all 4 are Republicans. And the 3rd District is the southeast part. It's a little weird looking, as most congressional districts are.
Yeah.
And this is the district that Jason Chaffetz used to be the representative for. So the current incumbent hasn't been in office very long. Is that right?
Yeah, he's been on for about a year now, so he's pretty fresh. He won that special election. He used to be the mayor of Provo, and he was pretty popular as mayor of Provo. That's kind of the main city in one of the counties, Utah County. It's along the Salt Lake City, Provo metropolitan area, and he used to actually be part of the Utah County Democratic Party. I think he used to be the chair of that county itself. And, if you want to get anywhere in politics in Utah, you have to run as a Republican. I think that's kind of what happened for him. So he won.
And like a lot of Utah congressional races, he won by a pretty good margin. So I'm wondering what you see on the ground in the 3rd District and the way you are running your race to try to overcome what's historically been a pretty Republican state and a pretty Republican district.
I think there's a good distinction to make between like Republican versus voting Republican, because what's in Utah is we see that the majority of people are unaffiliated, but most of them do tend to vote Republican when they turn out, which I think is really, really interesting to note, because when I've been hitting doors and talking to folks, most people that I'm talking to, if they're not Democrats, because they tend to gravitate towards me anyway, but most people are just like, meh, I'm not really part of any party. I'd really like to hear more about this. I've never talked to anyone. A politician has never come to my door before. And this is something that another candidate in Utah, her name is Shireen Ghorbani in the 2nd District, she's come across this as well, where she's meeting a lot of people who haven't even heard of their congressional representative. And so it's been interesting to find that whole thing. When I come to talk about running for Congress, they ask, well, who's your opponent? I say, oh, it's John Curtis. And they're like, who? I'm like, yeah, they don't know either of us, which is interesting because he's been in there for a year. Outside of Provo, people don't know who he is. So what we're looking at is breaking down things by kind of geographical areas. We have Salt Lake County, and we have the southeastern portion of that. And most of that tends to be kind of a purple, quote unquote, purple area where there's a fair amount of Democratic representation in the area. Then you've got Utah County, which tends to vote Republican. And I want to talk about that in a second. But then you have like coal country, and then you move into the red rock country of like Arches National Park and Moab. And even further south, you have the indigenous tribal nations there. But in Utah County, this is the one I find really interesting, is that is where Democrats feel like they are completely alone. Most of the Democrats are living there that are in the district, but they think they're the only one in the entire universe that's there. And this is really prevalent when we look at the numbers between presidential years and midterm elections. That is the only county that dips below 40% when looking at people who turn out. Overall turnout's not great in Utah, but the difference between a presidential year and a midterm year is the lowest of the low. And so there's something happening in this county. There's something happening to the people that think, why are they thinking that they're alone? And so part of our process in this campaign is going and finding them and saying, look, there are visible markers. You are around. There are people for you. And it's something that I think we can actually turn around. So I had to dig deep. There is a path towards victory in the 3rd District, and it requires that a lot of things fall into place. For my opponent, he just kind of has to throw his hat out there and say, I'm the thing, and he could win. So it makes our race a much more uphill battle. But it's so winnable, especially with the things going on with nationally, the politics. Utah's also a place where they don't like Trump. as conservatives, which is really interesting. And we've got these different kinds of ballot initiatives like medical marijuana, better boundaries, so looking at the gerrymandering